Hey guys, how's it going? It's Coach Pat here from Patrick Valley Fitness, and today is Thursday's Q&A. So I put up a post earlier, and from the responses that I've got, I've managed to come up with 4 really good questions, which I plan on answering, and I'll do my best to do that, and hopefully you can take something away from it. So the first question is, what is the fastest and the most efficient way to lose body fat, but in a sustainable way? So I think when we use the term fastest, we're probably jumping a little bit ahead of the game. Everyone is different. Everyone is going to have different requirements. There is general stuff out there in research to help you along the way. Obviously, a cleaner diet and a vigorous training plan is going to help you get there quicker than someone who might need to have like a slower approach to their training, or might not have as many days or as much time in the week to train due to childcare, due to cost, due to work, due to many other factors. However, everyone can do it. Everyone can achieve it. There aren't setbacks. There are challenges, and challenges are designed to. Challenges can be overcome. So I think in terms of like the fastest way, obviously, if you've got a good diet, if you're eating the right carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and you're not getting too much processed food, and you're staying well hydrated, you're training regularly, and you've got a plan which you're sticking towards and you're consistent with it, then happy days, great, you're going to get it very quickly. However, if you're 99.9% of the population who does have other commitments outside of the gym, because we've got to remember the gym is just part of our lives, it might take you a little bit longer to get there. And there is nothing wrong with it taking a little bit longer. In actual matter of a fact, when I'm working with people, I prefer a longer route a longer duration to getting into the shape that you want, because it helps you maintain that shape for longer after you've achieved it, rather than just a quick 12-week cut and then going back into those unhealthy habits. So we're not really learning or growing from it. However, if we're able to build the habits throughout a long period of time and maintain that leanness and make those habits long lasting so they become second nature, and we build them into our lives, then you're hitting the nail on the head there. That's what you're trying to achieve. So obviously, like I said earlier, the most efficient way to lose body fat is, so the research out there is to be in a calorie deficit. I'm kind of more athlete focused, so I like to go a little bit deeper. I like to think that it's good to eat the right things at the right time, and if done properly, it can be done in a tasty way. So for myself, because I play rugby, or if I've got rugby players, or for example, kind of like bodybuilders that have been getting ready for shows in the past, I always prioritise carbohydrates around the workout time, because we need glycogen in the muscle cells before we start synthesising that protein, which is going to then help us to recover. If we recover better, we're going to become better athletes. We're going to become much more efficient at building muscle and putting on fat. So that is my take on the most kind of like in terms of it being the most efficient way to losing body fat, is taking your time with it. Remember, you're focusing on your body. You're not focusing on what matey's doing who lives down the road. He might have completely different genetics to you. He might have been training 5 years longer than you. He might not have as many social restrictions as you. So you've really got to know where you are now, and plan. Try and kind of like work through everything, filter everything, so you narrow everything down to make the training and the nutrition a lot easier for you and a lot more focused on what you want to achieve. In terms of sustainability, that is a very great question. Not too familiar. I'll be honest, I'm really bad with spending food. Sometimes I've racked up almost like just over £100 a week on food shopping. Protein is expensive as well. So in terms of like sustainability, and in terms of like looking after the bank account, but looking after the environment as well. If I'm going for my meat sources, I like to kind of shop locally. I do believe in kind of like going to like your local greengrocers or supporting your local butchers, so you're also supporting them as a small business as well, and then you're pretty sure that most of the food is going to be well sourced and coming from there. I like to as go organic as possible whenever I can, but I know that's not always the case. So in terms of sustainability, especially when it comes to fish and canned fish or frozen fish, maybe just keep an eye on the label and just see where it's come from. That's quite important as well. And then again, like if you're going to, for example, like the greengrocers, they're going to have like seasonal vegetables as well. That's very sustainable if you can go for more foods like that. So eating the right foods in the right season, then absolutely fantastic. I remember when we went on a holiday to a wedding in Italy actually, and it was very seasonal, the food we were going in their summer, but the food was just absolutely fantastic. Everything was at like the right time, and you could really taste how good it was. And this is all seasonal, so it's well sourced. So that is hopefully going to answer that question. And I know that I've only got about 15-20 minutes with these, so I'll try and be a little bit more fast forward with the other questions. So can I have a six-pack and still drink alcohol? Yes, of course you can. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend drinking a hell of an amount of alcohol in one day. I generally tend to leave my alcohol for a Saturday. If I play in rugby on a Saturday, I'll leave it till afterwards. I like to treat it as a little bit of a reward, or have it as like a social thing. Generally, if it's going in terms of alcohol throughout the week, I don't really do this anymore, but when I used to during lockdown, I'd probably have a drink or two or a few middle of the week, and I'd probably stick to the gin and tonics and change up the flavours with it as well. You can't really go wrong with the gin and tonic, and they're generally low calorie. You can also go and get like your low calorie beers. I know they're pretty good. I know the taste of the low calorie beers has improved throughout time. For me personally, I'm a pale ale guy myself, but I know that a couple of years ago, alcohol-free beer, low-calorie beer used to taste like absolute dog poo. But now it's got a little bit better. I don't mind having an alcohol-free beer in the week, for example, because this generally leads up to my preparation on a Saturday when I'm playing rugby, for example. I'll keep the alcohol low throughout the week, and then I'll enjoy it a little bit more on the weekend. I'll treat it as a reward, rather than kind of like thinking, oh, I need to have a drink every night. But that's just my take on it. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with having a beer or two a night. Just make sure that you are tracking your calories. If you're in a calorie deficit, try and stay within that, because there is quite a lot of calories in alcohol, in beer itself, and there's quite a lot in red wine and white wine as well. But I love red wine and white wine. It's absolutely fantastic. I have a bottle of red wine, probably 4 cans or a few pints on the weekend with a cheat meal, and there is nothing wrong with that. I've got a few clients on that as well, and that's just kind of like your breakaway from the week. I've noticed I've been doing that more as I'm getting closer towards my 30s, because I start to enjoy those things, and I see it as a social occasion as well. That's where I leave my alcohol to. But in terms of going back to that original question, can I have a 6-pack and still drink alcohol? Yes, of course you can, as long as you're doing pretty good 5-6 days out of the week, or you're pretty much hitting everything about 75% of the time. The other 25% of the time doesn't really matter what you do too much. I am not telling you to go out and get absolutely smashed, but just be mindful. Just be mindful, or save it up like I do. What are my thoughts on cold water therapy for health and weight loss? This is a really interesting area. There's not a lot of research out there backing cold water therapy. I know that Wim Hof has done a lot of stuff, and the scientists have done a lot of tests on him. He is an absolutely outstanding man, and if you really get a chance to understand his story, it's really interesting. Definitely have like a little read of his book and what he's doing. So I think it's an area to explore further. I have done cold water therapy for myself. I thought I'd do it for anxiety, actually, to help me with that fight or flight response. So when I was going through a rough patch, I wanted to understand my anxiety a little bit better, and it took me through that kind of fight or flight response that when I was having panic attacks, you'd have that racing heart, the sweats, that constant fear, and just wanting to get out of that situation. I do feel like the cold showers helped me with that a little bit personally. I started off with about 30 seconds, and then I built it all the way up to about 2 minutes, and I was forcing my body to actually stay in the situation and remind myself that nothing bad is going to happen from it. So I did a little bit of psychological therapy, CBT treatment with that as well at the same time, kind of combined the two. Not for physical health, but for psychological health. I feel it had a huge amount of benefit on the psychological side for me anyway, especially what you need to recognise about anxiety is that your mind is telling you, or your body and mind together, because two and two are connected, is telling you to get out of that situation because you're not safe, and if you go out you'll feel safe. And we probably do this as people more often than we realise, than we don't. However, what I learned from my CBT was to try and stay in the situation, actively stay in the situation rather than try to avoid it, so you're not creating those avoidance behaviours. And I did that for a bit first, and then I started doing that with the cold water therapy, and I think that helped it a little bit further. So absolutely horrible. In the meantime, I was constantly wanting to get out of the shower because it was so cold. But then I stayed in it for just an extra 5 seconds, and then I did it once for about 2.5 minutes, and then after 2.5 minutes, I didn't feel cold anymore. I wasn't going hypothermic, but I just didn't feel like the anxiety completely calmed down. It was a very strange experience, but it was a very warm experience as well at the same time. So I definitely think it's an area that needs to be explored more. I'm not too sure about its benefits on weight loss. I'm not too sure about its benefits on physical health, but we all know that the research says that if you look after your psychological health, it's going to benefit your physical health as well, because you're preventing yourself from creating those avoidance behaviours by setting good habits, and those good habits can lead towards a healthier life, in my opinion anyway. There may be some research to back that up as well, and I think there is, but I can't source that for you at the moment. But it worked wonders for me psychologically. So I hope that I know that doesn't answer your question, but it's I'll definitely have a little look into it more for you, and then see what I can explore with the health and the weight loss. But like I said, it's an emerging area. I do have a very good friend of mine. His name is John. I'll actually signpost him in this. Yoga guru, holistic health guru as well. I think that's another thing as well, rather than just thinking being so focused on achieving results and goals and treating our bodies as machines. We know that's not the case anymore. We know we have to have a holistic approach to how we treat ourselves and treat others, and how we coach as well now as well. So yeah, we're not just mindless robots. We want some euphoria from this as well, and he is definitely a guy that really understands this area fantastically. I remember one day I was trying to do everything I could. I was doing all of my CBT techniques. I couldn't calm myself down. He taught me this weird, I don't even know if there's any research into it. He taught me this really weird technique, controlling your sympathetic nerve or something like that. And I just calmed down within a few seconds, and 30 seconds, and it was really weird, but really kind of groundbreaking for me. I don't know if it was psychological, but honestly, I'll put this guy in the chat. He is fantastic, and he also does ice bath therapy. So he might be, he will definitely be someone who is more of an expert in that area. So I'll signpost so you can have a little chat with him. But fantastic guy, great guy. If you ever get a chance to have a coffee with him, you'll learn so much. You'll probably learn more as much as you would in 2 lifetimes in one. So fantastic guy. Going over to the final question. So, how do you work out? Oh, this is a good one. So, how do you work out what you need macro-wise? So, macros is thinking about proteins, macronutrients. So they're split into proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. When calorie counting and when. So, how do I can't give too much away. I can't give my formula away. But simply put, my macronutrients are so. I start with kind of 3 things. I start with the person's goal. I want to know whether their caloric whether their caloric intake needs to be based on whether they're losing weight, maintaining, or building muscle. So basically, are they in a calorie deficit, are they in a maintenance, or are they in a surplus? Okay, and that's directed towards their goal. It's got to be specific towards that. So that's first thing. So goal, and then I work out the calories based on their goal and where they are currently, and basically how much exercise they can do. And I figure this out based on their training days and their rest days, and sometimes that varies if they're doing extra cardio or things here and there. I also get all of my clients to track their workouts and their calorie burns in the app. So if you do want to be signposted to that, I do online coaching through Trainerize. I'm not very techie, but being an online coach myself, now I find it's very important to have everything in one place. Trainerize offers me that, and I can track nutrition, I can track training as well, and I can track progress in both. So yeah, absolutely fantastic app. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, or if you're interested in coming on board, I do have a free training PDF which you can trial for like a month if you want to if you just want to give it a go, see what's happening, and then we can have a little chat and go from there. But basically, going off from that, sorry, I went off topic a little bit there. In terms of my macros, once we've worked out the calories, then I basically split my macronutrients from there. So then I decide how much protein, how much carbohydrates, how much fat that person needs. Again, I'm probably giving you more away than I should already. But I like I said before, I know a lot of people just focus on the calorie intake, but I'm very much... you have to get your calories, but then you have to kind of make sure that you're getting your macros in at the right times as well, because there is some research out there to say it's contrasting. Some research says that it doesn't really matter, you can just have like your calories and then that's you sorted, and then there's a lot of other... I'm kind of more on the other research side where it says if you eat the right macronutrients, so proteins, fats and carbohydrates at the right times, then you're going to get more bang for your buck than the other one. I think if you just do like calories, I think it's a lazy coaching way out a little bit, unless it's someone just starting and they just need like a little bit of help and it's just tracking their calories. But most of us have been training for quite a substantial period of time. I think it's better to set those good habits in place, figure out what you need, figure out how much of what you need from the other macronutrients, and then play with it from there. Okay, you can make your diet nice, interesting, colourful and flavourful. It can be done. It's not mundane and boring. It doesn't have to be mundane and boring anyway. So that's what I do. I go through those 3 stages. I figure out the person's goals. I figure out specifically what what calories that person then needs to have, and then I do my macro split from there. And that's going to vary based on the person's goal as well. If they're putting on muscle, if they're losing fat, okay, if they're trying to maintain, if they're trying to get some strength and size. And it depends on their level of training. It depends how committed they are as well. It depends on the money side of things as well. That's where individually that's where I like to focus on everyone as an individual and give them the right plan that they need based on what they can afford. And again, that kind of relates back to that sustainability and thinking holistically. Okay, you're not just thinking about yourself as a coach there. I'm not just thinking, okay, well, I'm going to give this person this because this is going to get them the best results. It's more about, I need to give this person this because it's what they require and it's only what they can commit to as well. You don't want to sell someone under the bus. And that's where, again, like I just feel like it's really important to think holistically as a coach and think about the whole person and the whole picture as well. So, sorry, that was quite a long video. I hope it was useful for you. If you've got any questions, please drop them. In the comments section below. Please have a little listen to this video. I do hope it helps you. And yeah, I'll be doing another Q&A next Thursday, hopefully with some more questions to expand on this. And again, if you would like any assistance with like online coaching, if you're interested, again, I've got a free coaching PDF, exercise training for beginners. You might learn a thing or two from it. feel free to go in there. Or if you would like to just get signed up with a little bit of online training, please drop into my message box and then we can arrange a consultation. Thank you, bye bye.